So one of the key features of the platform is track and trace or live mapping. So you can keep an eye on your fleet 24/7. Tell me a little bit about that and how you guys are using that feature of the system.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really helpful when you're obviously, our vehicles are allowed to go certain areas in Australia, they're not allowed to go into others. But it certainly helps for each individual branch. They can obviously look at their fleet. They can obviously readily identify if a vehicle isn't where it should be, it's in an unauthorized area, or it could be then the vehicle's not in the branch as it says it should be, which obviously assists with issues, potentially mistakes that have been made at the branch, wrong vehicles been put on a contract's not been opened correctly, things like that. Also helps greatly with things like, especially when we have customer issues. If a customer rings up and they might have a mechanical issue, it's much easier then to locate. Obviously, we have the majority of our business is tourist, leisure business. A lot of people obviously don't know Australia or where they're visiting. So to be able to pinpoint the car with a pretty reasonable amount of accuracy really helps and narrow it down, and obviously enables us to be able to assist those people much easier if we otherwise if we didn't have it.
And then I suppose that leads on to fraud and like vehicle theft or late returns, stolen vehicles, that kind of thing. How is the system helping your business to, I suppose, recover those vehicles, locate them? Is it helping with your relationship with local law enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back at it now, so I've been with this company for 18 years, and up until RentalMatics, it was a lottery. A lot of people unfortunately don't do the right thing. They don't bring the cars back when they should. And it just enables to get onto that so much quicker. Yeah, it's been a godsend from that point of view, because it's I don't know how we used to manage. We used to have cars that were missing for years, quite literally years. And now, in most cases, unless of course a tracker has been removed, we generally recover them a lot quicker, which obviously saves us money, because the vehicle, generally, the sooner you can recover the car, generally it's more likely to come back in one piece, so it hasn't got as much damage on it. And secondly, obviously we're not accruing loss of rental costs and things like that. So from an economic point of view, it's much better as well, because you're getting that car back, you're getting onto the road, back onto the road a lot quicker. All of our managers and our assistant managers at branch level, they all get impact alerts for their station, and so they're obviously able to see, even before the car's returned, it gives them obviously an indication. We can review that report to see what the severity of the damage might be. It enables us to then obviously put the appropriate notes in the booking, so that when the car does come back, obviously that the appropriate checks are made. It also enables us from the claims point of view, when we have disputes as to who may be at fault. It enables us to use RentalMatics to determine, what happened in the event of an accident, who may be at fault, and it obviously enables us as well to determine were there things such as speed involved, or was our renter breaking Australian road rules at the time. So we use it for that way, so that if we need to, if it puts us in a position where we can breach a renter for doing the wrong thing. So yeah, it's very, very, very useful from that point of view. So I think the stock anomaly report is a very, very good report, because that enables us to, again, as I mentioned earlier, locate vehicles that they should be in a station, but they're not. Okay, without that information, trying to go through a manifest for the day where you might have had 120 cars go out, and you're trying to and you've got a car that's still at the station but shouldn't be, and then trying to determine which car potentially is RentalMatics makes it a lot easier to try and help that. There's obviously reporting. The other area, not so much maybe a report as such, but the journey. Well, I guess it is a report. The journeys report is something I use a lot, and my team uses. I oversee the tolls in Australia. We have obviously toll roads, and we manage all of our tolls, and we charge all of our tolls, and we have error reports that come up where vehicles are not on rent according to our car rental system. So the RentalMatics systems enables me. I can go in, I can clearly see where potentially there's been a mistake made. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the contract was closed too early. The wrong car's been put on the contract, things like that. By using RentalMatics, I can see straight away when the car returned, and it cuts my time down, and it also enables me to pick up errors that obviously is happening at branch, and we can do the appropriate training to say, to try and prevent that from happening.
Would you say that RentalMatics has had a positive commercial impact on your business in terms of employee workflow, cost savings, revenue growth? Would you say that is the case?
Absolutely. From the points I mentioned earlier, just from the time it takes to investigate issues and problems, from getting cars back sooner, enabling us to even look at, maybe not as much as we should do, but the utilization and things like that. You get a good picture. The new dashboard that they brought out, I think earlier this year, has been really good, because it puts it all on one page. And so you've got a screenshot there, so you don't have to keep going to different reports. You can click on the various areas. So that, again, speeds everything up and just makes it a lot easier. As I say, we take it for granted now that we have the trackers in all the cars, and it certainly becomes very notable when you haven't got one in a car. If a car goes without one, then you certainly know the difference when you're trying to investigate issues. I think the training that we received has been fantastic. You often sort of worry about companies that are not based in Australia. Obviously, primarily, well, actually, on the calls we have, I know there's representatives for RentalMatics that are all over the world, but certainly that hasn't been a problem. The fact that yes, there's a time difference. But generally, when we have inquiries or tickets that we put up, the customer service and the response times are very, very good. I submitted 3 tickets yesterday, and Reno's come back this morning, and all three have been fixed up. So, it's obviously not instantaneous, but in terms of bearing in mind the global distance that we're around, certainly don't have an issue from that point of view. Geofencing is a really good tool, because obviously it enables us to map the country. As I mentioned earlier, certain vehicles aren't allowed to go into certain locations. Namely, for example, we don't allow our cars to go into the Northern Territory or WA if they're rented from outside of there. The reason being that obviously is the logistical nightmare. If something goes wrong, we didn't have branches, we do now, but up until recently we didn't have branches in those locations. But even with the Northern Territory and WA, it's vast, and having the geo alerts enables us to, as soon as someone enters an area where they shouldn't, we can get straight on the front foot, because ultimately, at the end of the day, as I said, it's for their own the customer's safety and benefit as well, because a lot of people don't realise, we have a lot of people come over from Europe and places like that, and they don't realise how vast Australia is and how remote it is. And unfortunately, as I always say, no one breaks down or has an accident 5 minutes from the office. It just doesn't happen. Sure. So if we can determine that, we can, we've been able to assist people, we've been able to warn people, and then obviously, ultimately, it look after our fleet as well, because we don't want our vehicles, going around the country, racking up miles and getting damaged. So it's been that side of the geofence and the geo alerts that we get is very, very useful tool. I speak to my managers all the time. I say, look, show your staff to use. I mean, one thing I just said to every single one of your staff needs to journeys. They know journeys. You don't have to guess when a car returns. You don't have to make it up, because, you forgot to check it in. Go to RentalMatics, you know exactly where the cars are and when they return.